Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. And today's episode is Grey's Anatomy Season 2, Episode 22, The Name of the Game. The episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. All right, so in this episode, we'll start, as always, by recapping the patients. So we had a patient, Andrew Willis, who was a boy or young teenager with a brain tumor who had to go through awake surgery, and Bailey and Derek worked on this surgery together, with Bailey helping to comfort Andrew through through the awake surgery by giving him words to spell, as he's somebody who competes in spelling bees, and he comes out on the other end fine. We then have Karev assisting Burke with a cancer patient as well, who's been keeping her cancer diagnosis a secret from her daughter, trying to pretend that everything's fine. However, when they go into the surgery, they do realize that they aren't able to complete as much of the surgery as they would like to, and that the patient's time is limited. They do let her know this, and she still continues to try to keep it a secret from her daughter, which Karev doesn't agree with. So he tries to be honest with the patient, which Burke at first tries to tell him not to be, but Karev then basically tells Burke that honesty is what he has going for him, and all day, every day, all the doctors lie to the patients, trying to let them believe that there's hope where there isn't any, and he at least is honest, and he's not going to lose that because Burke wants to teach a lesson. And we do see that by the end of the episode, the patient does come to terms with her diagnosis, and she does, in fact, tell her daughter, who she is a single parent of, basically all the life advice she would like to give her in the future, but no, she will not be around to give out. And then the final patient is Molly, who is Meredith's half-sister, and we find out that Thatcher, who's in the hospital with his daughter, did remarry shortly after Ellis, and that he's had at least 2 children with Susan, who is his new wife, or, well, not new, but the wife after Ellis, and that the older one, Lexi, is in medical school, and Molly, who is 22, got married young and now has a baby, and then the baby is having some concerns, which is why she's in the hospital meeting with Addison. And Thatcher spends the episode kind of searching for Meredith, but she avoids him successfully, so we don't get an interaction with them. She does have to give Molly some tests, but she doesn't reveal who she is, and Molly's the one who talks about her sister, her father, her mother, how her father cried when he gave her away when she got married, and how he's very overprotective of his daughters, which just highlights the contrast between Meredith's relationship with him and their relationship with him. And then she also has a brief confrontation with Susan, who recognizes her and notes that, Thatcher thinks about her, but, her mom wouldn't let him know her, blah, blah, blah. And Meredith is kind of standoffish and obviously exits the conversation as quickly as possible. We do see a bit more of George potentially on the road to not completely avoiding Meredith, as he does find out about this information first, tells Izzy so that it's not his responsibility anymore, but then when Thatcher almost finds Meredith, he does talk about Meredith and veer Thatcher away, so he does step up to help her out, and also realizes that a couple weeks ago is when Meredith went to see Thatcher, also a couple weeks ago when the incident between them happened, and maybe that gives him a little more insight into it. Those are the patients. And then, of course, part of the drama, Meredith's previously unknown family, because she did not know about the stepmom or the 2 sisters, come to light. But then we also have Christina and Richard competing during a seminar with regards to um, like laparoscopic refresher course. They're competing, which Richard ultimately wins. That's why he's the chief. Then we also have Christina taking Richard's advice to return to basics to finally get George kicked out. When George is kicked out, he does find out that Callie lives in the hospital, and they then, she cuts his hair. They have a little bit of a meet cute in the underbelly of the hospital. Bailey is feeling like she's being mommy tracked because she hasn't been booked for any surgeries in the last few days. And so she basically strong arms Derek into letting her in on his surgery, but then she does become a lot more emotional during the surgery than typical, and that's because of the excess of hormones because she's only recently given birth. And we see that happening. And then Meredith decides to take a vow of celibacy alongside Izzy, who they decide to knit. Well, Meredith decides to knit, Izzy decides to knit to trick Meredith into thinking that she's knitting correctly. But ultimately, Izzy gives Denny a sweater that she knitted that smells like her, so he can have it because they're in a relationship. And then Meredith, of course, is knitting throughout the episode, trying to be celibate. However, Finn, the vet who is looking after Doc, who has become ill, they have a first meeting where they lock eyes and hold the stare, which obviously is a foreshadow to her vow of celibacy being thrown out the window. But that's everything that happened in this episode. And so that brings us now to our rankings, which again we'll be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list, followed after by the personal ranking list. So on our mostly objective ranking list, we have quite a few, bringing us to our season 2 rankings so far on the mostly objective ranking list. Quick reminder, when more than one episode has the same score, they are just ranked in episode order on the mostly objective ranking. And therefore, our list is as follows: Make Me Lose Control, Into You Like a Train, Begin the Begin, Tell Me Sweet Little Lies, Break On Through, As We Know It, What Have I Done to Deserve This? This episode comes in 8th, The Name of the Game, Deny, 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 Thanks for the Memories, It's the End of the World, Enough is Enough, Something to Talk About, Let It Be, Much Too Much, Yesterday, Superstition, Bring the Pain, Band-Aid Covers the Bullet Hole, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, Owner of a Lonely Heart, and then in last place so far we've got Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So now we come to my personal opinion on the episode. I liked the episode. I found it engaging. However, I was a bit disappointed in the lack of drama surrounding Thatcher and his new family being in the hospital. I mean, for a drama show, they really avoided the drama there because Meredith was avoiding her father. But at the same time, I do think it was in line with the characters themselves, and so I didn't mark it down hugely for that, but I feel like there could have been more drama there. I did find the conversation between the mother and daughter, the mother whose days are numbered, and the daughter, I did find that that was a very sweet moment. I did give points extra for that. The awake surgery, there was a brief moment of a scare where he stopped being able to spell, but then everything worked out fine. So they obviously didn't push it far because it was a child patient. And then, of course, there's the illegal, well, I think it's illegal. I don't know the actual laws in America with regards to squatting in hospitals or in any workplace that you happen to be working at. So I cannot state with any sort of certainty that it is illegal, but I feel like it should be if it is not, and most likely probably is, though again, I don't know the actual like written law that says it does. But that obviously rubbed me the wrong way. George gets kicked out by Christina, finally, which she's been trying for a few episodes to accomplish. And I do feel like the way she went about it was funny, but also like him getting kicked out, great, but then like to kick him out at night when you know he has nowhere else to go, it should have been more like a get out by tomorrow morning, like this is your last night staying here, this is not continuing, rather than kick him out to the cold in the middle of the night. Didn't think that that was very fair or nice, though it was, again, comedic. And then, of course, he discovers Callie. They have now potentially started cohabitating in the hospital. I can't honestly remember. And then she cuts his hair. And honestly, George has never been my favorite character, so I don't really care much about that particular side quest or side relationship. And I do like Callie, though. But I also don't see what's attractive about George either, because, well, I mean, I guess he is a sweet character. Nah, that doesn't really do much for me, which was also like a large part of the episode. Hmm. When I'm thinking about it, I enjoyed the episode, I was engaged with the episode, but I felt like they could have pushed things further, gone further, done more, didn't. I do like the meet cute at the end though. Overall, I felt like it was above average, but not the strongest episode, so I gave it a 7 out of 10, which brings our personal rankings to As We Know It, It's the End of the World, Make Me Lose Control, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, Something to Talk About, Into You Like a Train, Break On Through, Deny, 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 Let It Be, Tell Me Sweet Little Lies, The Name of the Game, Begin the Begin, Thanks for the Memories, Much Too Much, Yesterday, Superstition, Enough is Enough, Bring the Pain, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, What Have I Done to Deserve This, Owner of a Lonely Heart, and in last place so far in the personal list, Band-Aid covers the bullet hole. Which brings us now to the final segment, series ranking so far. Season 1 ended the mostly objective ranking at 77.78%, and Season 2 so far has 174 points out of 270. Meanwhile, on the personal side, Season 1 ended with 66.67%, and Season 2 so far has 150 out of a possible 270 points. So with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Grey's Anatomy Season 2, Episode 22, The Name of the Game. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.